Hello lovely people. For today's video I thought we could just do a little crochet and chat kind of catch up video, very low key, and I thought that since I have been making videos now for just over a year, inconsistently to be fair, but I have been uploading videos for over a year now, and I've never done like any kind of introduction post. I've never done a Q&A, nothing like that. So I thought in today's video I could just have a little yap while I crocheted about how I started crocheting, how I kind of got into the crochet scene, my first projects, that kind of thing. So if you want to grab yourself a project, grab yourself a tea or a coffee or a hot chocolate or some kind of cold beverage, if like me you are in Australia or somewhere else in the southern hemisphere where it is quite warm at the moment, please feel free to, and we can just have a little chat. While we're doing this, the project I'm going to be working on is a Christmas gift. It is this baby blanket using mandala ombre yarn from Lion brand. I did get it in the Spotlight mill end bags, but I know that that is the yarn it is, so it's just a little granny stitch style blanket. So that's what I'll be working on while we chat, and I guess we'll just kind of get into it. I actually was a knitter before I was a crocheter, and I started knitting during my final exam year in year 12 because I am an anxious little person and I needed something that I could kind of do with my hands and quiet my brain during that kind of pretty stressful period of life. You know, when you're in year 12 and you've got final exams and stuff coming up, it feels like that is going to be the kind of be all and end all, and it can be pretty stressful, even though now, as over a decade past when I've left school, I know that is not the case, but definitely at the time it felt like it. So I got into knitting first. My mum was a big knitter and still is, I suppose, in some ways. Maybe not a big knitter, but definitely since having some grandchildren she's getting back into it. So I had kind of been around knitting, and my grandma was a knitter as well. I had been around knitting, but according to my mum, when I was a kid, I refused to do any craft. So she thinks it's really funny now that I do a lot of crafting. I crochet basically every day. My mom and my dad are two of my biggest supporters on my Instagram and everything. I don't think they watch my YouTube, but that's okay. They don't need to do that. But they always like all of my posts, I think. So it's very sweet. They're very big supporters. But my mom does find it funny that I was never really big into crafting. I was a massive tomboy when I was younger because I have two older brothers and I wanted to be just like them. So I kind of pushed away any crafty thing, but then in year 12 picked up knitting and got pretty into it. And then I'm not sure, I can't remember when exactly I started crocheting, but I do know that the first crochet thing I ever did was make this blanket that is sitting behind me. It took me about 3 years start to finish to make this granny square blanket. So if anyone is starting out on their crochet journey, I definitely do not recommend a full granny square blanket because you will put it down and you will just not want to go back to it. I can't tell you how much time I basically just didn't crochet at all because I didn't want to look at another granny square. But that's how I started getting into it. And then during COVID, unlike everyone else during COVID, I did not actually pick up crochet. I think I did a running program. I started doing a lot more cross stitch because that, I suppose, is another mindful craft that I really liked doing. And during that time I made my parents-in-law, or I guess parents-in-law to be at that time, a cross stitch of Sydney, and I made us one of Dublin, so we kind of each had each other's cities. I did finish that Dublin cross stitch quite a while ago, and it is still not framed nor in our house anywhere, but every time we go back to Kieran's parents' house in Dublin, they have the Sydney one up in their kind of sunroom area, so that's always really nice to see. From there, I pretty much, towards the end of COVID, at possibly the worst time to have decided this, I was like, you know what I should do? I started getting into watching Twitch streams, because Kieran was often watching Twitch streams of like, I want to say maybe like Mario Kart speedruns. I feel like that was maybe his jam. Nowadays he is a lot cooler. He watches like the World Chess Championships on Twitch. I was like, oh, I was just chatting to him about Twitch, and I realized that there was a Makers and Crafters kind of section on there. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could stream. But this was like October 2021. So literally, I think I started streaming and I started doing cross stitch on stream. And I started like right when all of the lockdowns and everything were finishing. And so no one wanted to be at their computer anymore. So it was a kind of a silly time for me to have decided to start, you know, finally trying the world of kind of content creation or whatever. I did have a Bookstagram account before I ever had a craft account, and it's kind of languishing, but it does still exist. I haven't deactivated it or anything. I post maybe once every 6 weeks on there if I remember. Yeah, so I started that doing cross stitch, and then I found just a whole bunch of crafters over there. People like Sleeping Luna Designs, Liz, who is now like a really lovely friend of mine. I found Pick Stitch through there. I found Zakayla. I found like so many talented people who were doing a lot of craft. And I think it was probably Liz who got me back into doing crochet, because she was a big cross stitcher and her other craft was crochet. So from having that Twitch account, I like then made a TikTok account, found people like Dribby Zoo and Zach from Crochet Me Zaddy, and they were obviously doing a lot of crochet. And so I was like, okay, like I've done crochet, I can go back to crochet. I think I'll be like a variety craft streamer on Twitch instead of just doing cross stitch or whatever. So I started doing a bunch of different stuff on Twitch, and that included doing crochet. And I think it probably was also during that lockdown period that I actually finally finished this blanket. I think I probably had like all but, I don't know, like all but 6 or 7 of the squares done, and I ended up finally finishing all the squares. I actually put it all together and I felt very, very accomplished. I will show you a photo of when I finally finished this blanket. I was so chuffed with myself. And then because all of these people on Twitch were making amigurumi, I was like, maybe I should try to make an amigurumi. And what I have brought into this room with me is my first ever amigurumi toy. It was a Crochet Me Zaddy B. It was a free pattern. I think it might have been around his first, like I think I kind of found this pattern close to when he first released it, and I think sort of found it while he was just getting into his pattern designing era, which is an era still going very, very strong, stronger than ever. And I think that might be how Zach and I became friends, was because I made this bee on stream and then like was talking about it on TikTok or whatever. But I will show you the bee, and I think if you know Zach's humor and my humor, you might, just by looking at it, see why we kind of became friends, because it is not good, let's say. So here we go. This is the bee. Look, for a first amigurumi attempt is not that bad, but the eyes are just so ridiculous. The eyes just crack me up still, the fact that they're so wonky, and like still to this day, embroidering eyes is not my forte, let's say. I really want to get better at it. I know there's a lot of resources out there to help people get better at it, but this is my first ever attempt. This was years and years ago, keeping in mind. So this was my first ever amigurumi project, and it was a lot of fun, but I did it with a very splitty Marvel acrylic 8-ply yarn from Spotlight, and for the first, like, I don't know how long, that was all I used to make amigurumi. It was so much harder on my hands. I don't know I don't know how I did it. Sorry, I've just realized that I need to frog a little bit of this because I got a little bit distracted and I forgot to skip one of the stitches, but that's all right. Okay, we're back. Just make sure I actually skip it this time. There we go. So that was my first ever amigurumi make, and I think after that I got a little bit more into the like sharing my makes kind of side of things, and I think that was because I was like becoming friends with people who were a lot more into content creation, not just on Twitch but outside of Twitch. Yeah, so when I first started my like Instagram and TikToks, they were very like kind of streaming based and not so much, it was kind of like craft streaming based but very much streaming based, and I've since archived a lot of that stuff, and I think I just kind of naturally found that crochet was the thing I wanted to keep doing more often than the other crafts that I have. I think like any crafter, want to try everything all the time, and I have ideas for all these different kinds of projects that I always want to be doing, and they aren't just crochet related, but certainly crochet is the thing I've gravitated towards the most since then, and I've met so many wonderful people through it, so I'm really glad that I did kind of land on that and decide to keep doing it. And you know, now I'm on YouTube as well, and my Instagram, like, finally after I don't know how many, couple of years, 3 years probably, I guess at this stage, has hit like 1.3k followers, which I know for a lot of people is really not that many, but for me it's like a nice kind of, I don't know, indication that the community that we're building with all of this like crafty fun stuff is growing, which is really nice, because I think I mean, due to aforementioned anxiety, I don't know that I could ever like dive into this full time or anything like that. I never kind of thought that that was never my intention or like an end goal for doing any of this content creation or like making things stuff. So really at the end of the day, I just want to be building a community of people who get to share a craft they love with each other. So I hope that that is what this is doing, and I hope, you know, if you're watching this, that that's how you feel like the spaces that I've made online kind of make you feel. But I think, yeah, it's something that I'm happy to do, I'm proud of doing, except I still do kind of hide it from everyone in my life. Obviously my parents know about it, obviously my husband knows about it. There are people in my life who, like in my real life, who do know about it, but I always joke when someone finds my like crochet Instagram account or anything like that, that they've unlocked a new level of friendship, because I certainly don't advertise it outside of like if people kind of accidentally stumble upon it or Instagram recommends it to them, and then I'm like, oh, I've been found out. And it's so funny, I don't know if other people are like that with their kind of crochet alter ego on the internet, but I certainly don't really advertise it. I don't know. I think it definitely goes back to my little anxiety thing of feeling like people will judge it or think it's silly, and it's so unfounded, because everyone in my life that does find it is inevitably like, that is so cool, oh my gosh, like how do you have time to do that? Like they always just, I don't know, respond so positively, and I feel like I need to stop. I don't know, I need to give my friends the benefit of the doubt kind of thing. But you know, in my head there's always that voice that's like, well, there might be people who have found it and just don't say anything because they think it's silly. So I don't know. But anyway, that is my origin story. That is how I got into crocheting. That is how I got into making YouTube videos and Instagram and TikTok and all of those things. I feel like a grumpy old lady sometimes because I really feel like there are too many social medias to keep up with, and I just like I can't do all of them, and so inevitably one of them gets like left behind. So I'm really enjoying YouTube at the moment, as you can probably tell. Instagram kind of will always be there as well, because a lot of my community and like my really good crochet friends now are there. It's brought me a lot of joy, because anytime I'm visiting another city or another state, I kind of have crochet friends there now that I can catch up with, so that's really nice. I sort of got a feel for that in the Bookstagram world, and I'm really glad that I could bring it into the crochet world as well. So that's me, and if you feel like sharing how you first got into crochet, or if you are also someone who posts about your work on the internet. I would love to hear about your experiences with that as well, because I just find it so interesting. I love hearing how people got into the craft. I love hearing how people kind of, if you're pattern designers, I love hearing how people got into their pattern designing kind of stage of crafting. And yeah, posting online I feel like is a really interesting kind of experience, and I love hearing how what other people feel about it. Like, if you're someone who posts online, do you tell your friends and family about it, or do you kind of let them find it organically? Or I know there are some people who literally like block friends and family, and I will be honest, when I started, I would at least like block my stories. If someone found my Instagram account, and I did it with my Bookstagram account as well, if someone found it, I would just hide my story from them. I don't know what that was. I don't know what kind of little internal brain funky thing was going on that made me think like, oh, that feels more private if I hide my story, but that's what I did. So anyway, it's been really nice catching up with you guys in this kind of more laid back format. I feel like this Vlogmas period has been really good for trying a few different kinds of videos like this. So if you liked the more laid back kind of crochet and chat style, please let me know, as opposed to like vlogs or pattern roundups or all the other kinds of things that I do, little crochet challenges. Yeah, let me know, maybe we can do a few more of them. You can let me know what topics you might like to see as well if you enjoy it. I am just popping back very quickly to say that at the end of Vlogmas, I am going to do probably another one of these crochet and chat type videos about my experiences with Vlogmas and how I found it. So if you have any questions about Vlogmas or YouTubing or anything like that, please drop them in the comments below, and I will also put a little story question box up on my Instagram a couple of days before I film it, so make sure you go and follow me there as well at Hey It's Mel B, same username, and we can kind of answer some of the Vlogmas questions and have a chat about how the month has been. But that will all be to come later in Vlogmas, probably one of the last couple of days of Vlogmas, so a few days before Christmas. It's been really nice sitting here and chatting with you guys. We have got a little bit further on our blanket. I think this is definitely going to be ready by December 22nd, which is when I need to be gifting it, so that's exciting. I guess I need it to be ready, I suppose, by December like 20, so I can give it a wash, block it, lint roll it, and make sure it's all good to go, wrapped up for the gift recipient. But as always, if you liked this video and liked hanging out with us today, please feel free to give the video a little thumbs up and help us find more crochet people on this corner of the internet. And if you want to tell me anything about your crochet journey or share with me anything about how you got started or your experience with crochet on the internet, please also drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear all about it. And if you want more crochet crafty kind of content like this, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. There is a lot of content coming out at this time of year, I know, so I would really appreciate it that you decided to spend some time with me and us here today. And I hope to see you in some of our other videos and just in our community more generally. So thank you very much for being here, and until tomorrow's video, I will be sitting here crocheting along with you in spirit. Bye!